We begin tonight with investigator Lauren Gilger with why the president came now. Lauren?
How do we make sure the VA is working for every single veteran? That's the question President Obama asked today at his visit to the Phoenix VA hospital. We tried to speak with the head of Massage Envy, David Crisalla, but he refused our request for an interview. We caught up with him working. We need to talk to you about some of the sexual assault cases that have happened at Massage Envy franchises all over the country.
Ma'am, you need to talk to my office, please.
You know, we have. These cases are still happening, and they've been going on for a decade now. What would you say to these victims, sir? Just one day after city prosecutors won 385 guilty verdicts against the Woodbridge Apartments, a disabled tenant says a property manager called police on her. Maria, we just want to get your side of the story on camera here. We tried to get the property manager's side of the story, but she refused to speak to us. Sir, you said you were a property manager here? Can I just ask you a couple of questions?
Please turn off the camera.
In fact, every time the ABC 15 investigators have come to talk to Woodbridge tenants about living conditions,
you need to leave the property.
Woodbridge property managers, maintenance men, and security guards tried to keep us from getting the story. Hi, I'm Lauren Gilger. I'm with ABC 15 News. We need to talk to you about the conditions in this facility.
Oh, everything's great.
When we asked the owner, Melanie Murphy, to answer some questions,
We're doing great work. We're working with the county closely to try to spay and neuter and vaccinate as many animals and place them into homes.
She denied the former volunteers' allegations. But nearly a decade after they first learned about the issue and after Jason Nelson nearly burned to death in Gilbert, neither Southwest Gas nor the Corporation Commission think Driscoll Pipe M8000 needs to be replaced here in the desert. Why wouldn't you go back and replace that 6,000 miles of this kind of pipe here that has caused issues?
Well, Piper, please.
Councilman Steve Vanek spent the past year helping to rebuild the city of West.
There's still a lot of people reeling and hurting. They didn't realize the danger.
It seems no one did.
You hit that time or you'll be penalized for it.
And by penalized, he means fired.
They will release you if you can't meet the standard.
Is that what happened to both of you?
Yes, correct.
We compiled the data to create this map of danger zones across our state and who they would affect. We found nearly 3 million of you live within one or more of these danger zones. That's 44% of the state's population.
And Lauren, this is a big step for this movement.
It really is. A few representatives of that group met with 36 representatives from the Food and Drug Administration, including the head of the Center for Devices and the FDA commissioner. But
just how trustworthy are clinical trials?
One in particular is being questioned by thousands of women across the country. Essure permanent birth control.
That's right. ABC 15's investigator Lauren Gilger has been reporting on the issues with this device for more than a year now. She joins us now live. Lauren?
Well, Stephanie, we sat down with a Valley mother of 3 who took part in the original clinical trial. She says the trials left her in constant pain.
Every single day I have bloating.
15 years ago.
Every single day I have pain.
Kimberly Lira.
I just don't feel normal.
Had Essure implanted.
I don't feel the person I used to be.
She was a patient in the original clinical trial to get the device approved by the FDA. The Essure device consists of metal coils placed inside the fallopian tubes to block conception permanently.
They told me that it was just a really easy procedure, and just a few minutes is all it took.
Almost immediately after the procedure, Kimberly says she was in pain.
Day 3, right after the surgery, I wanted it out already.
Women describe extreme bloating, skin rashes, and headaches. X-rays show the coils perforating women's fallopian tubes and other organs.
When I look through them,
Kimberly recently got all of her medical records from the trial.
The stress that it gives me to look through those is crazy. It makes me very emotional.
In addition to numerous complaints she made about her health, Kimberly noticed some questionable notations. When she reported severe menstrual cramping, the word severe was crossed out. Excessive menstrual bleeding was categorized as unlikely related to the device. And even though Kimberly reported severe and unusual pain, researchers wrote her comfort level was excellent.
I consider that falsifying my documents completely.
Kimberly's records also show she asked researchers to remove the device.
I was crying. I told them I wanted them taken out, and they told me that there was no reversal.
But when Conceptus, the original manufacturer of the device, got approval from the FDA for Essure, they reported there were no requests for removal of the device.
I think it undermines what I'm going through. It undermines the pain that I feel.
Dr. Diana Zuckerman runs an FDA watchdog in Washington, D.C. She says clinical trials are often flawed, especially when it comes to medical devices like Essure, because there are fewer legal standards.
The data make it look like a product is safer or more effective than it really is.
The clinical trial started with 745 women, but we found only 567 of them completed it. Kimberly wasn't one of them.
I think I became a thorn in their side, and they didn't care, so I wasn't giving them the happy results they wanted.
Kimberly questions the study and questions the FDA.
I'm really scared. I'm 38, and to fix something I did at 23 is to have a hysterectomy. It's horrible.
She doesn't want anyone else to experience what she lives with every day.
Do I want to be pain-free? I would love it. I would love to know who I could be.
The FDA told us today Essure underwent its most stringent approval process. Dr. Jay Cooper, who handled Kimberly's case, testified in front of the FDA to help get the device approved. He has since died. Essure was sold to Bayer a few years ago. They wouldn't comment on Kimberly's case, but told us numerous trials have shown consistent results for Essure. I'm investigator Lauren Gilger, ABC 15 News.
They risk their lives for the freedom that many of us take for granted. They face bullets, rockets, and bombs, and most of them do it without ever hearing a thank you.
That's right. These are the men and women who stare down death. So do our veterans deserve 10 minutes of our time? ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger found they're often getting less than that at a time when they need us most.
It's a disgrace. A total disgrace.
These two veterans don't want to reveal their identities. They're afraid the VA won't like what they have to say. Until recently, both worked at the VA's National Call Center right here in Phoenix, answering calls from veterans and their families who had questions about benefits.
They earned it, whether they were in war or not in war. They served their time.
Both men were let go from the VA call center. It wasn't because they didn't do a good job getting vets the help they deserved. In fact, both said they never had a complaint. Their big problem? They gave the veterans too much of their time.
Everyone in the call center has a specific time in which they have to meet.
The policy is spelled out in black and white in the VA's own documents. New call center employees are allowed just 9.5 minutes, a little over 2 minutes more if the call had to do with pensions. Higher level employees were expected to spend even less time on the phone.
Were those generous times?
Not one bit. You hit that time or you'll be penalized for it.
And by penalized, he means fired.
They will release you if you can't meet the standard.
Is that what happened to both of you?
Yes.
I can't help you if you don't tell me.
Terry eBay has a similar story. He averaged just over 12 minutes a phone call. The extra 2.5 minutes earned him his walking papers. He decided to speak out.
You hear somebody tell you, I served my country, and this is what I get.
In all, we spoke with 4 former employees of the Phoenix call center. All of them said the same thing. While the VA claims it's all about world-class customer service, the whistleblowers say actions speak louder than words.
You just want the veteran or the veteran's family member off the phone as quick as you can. Answer their questions, just get them off the phone, and pick up the next caller.
And that often meant withholding information veterans could have benefited from.
The policy is, if they didn't ask, you don't bring it up. It did the veteran an incredible disservice.
The VA denied the claim and defended their call time policy, saying timeliness of client contact management ensures the VA is effectively serving the many veterans, survivors, and others who call. The former call center employees say they were pressured to get vets off the phone, adding some workers were even given bonuses for getting through calls quickly.
You listen to them on the phone and you think, wow, I would never want my mother or father treated like that on the phone. But these individuals will get 80 calls a day, and they'll be able to do that only because they have to cut the veteran off.
And it's not just vets who are given the rush.
So you have a widow crying on the phone and you have to cut her off.
Yeah, you have to cut that widow off.
All of these men, veterans themselves, said to save their jobs would have cost them their dignity.
For myself, I'm embarrassed. I apologize to any veteran out there that might have not got the service that they deserved. But I'm hoping in the future they will.
The VA VA declined an on-camera interview for this story, but answered our questions in writing. A spokesperson said veterans are satisfied with the service they get from the call center and cited client satisfaction scores to prove it. So if you are a veteran, we want to hear from you. How has your experience been using the VA benefits hotline? Find our story on abc15.com/investigators and send me an email.
It's now up to police to collect enough evidence to make sure the prosecutors can make a case against Miller.
Yeah, this is a guy who grew up in Phoenix, had a good job, was raising a teenage daughter, but he does have, as I mentioned, a very serious criminal past.
That's right. ABC 15 investigator Lauren Gilger joins us now live with those details. Lauren?
That's right. Police say Miller served time as a juvenile for stabbing a woman at the Paradise Valley Mall. But for the past 10 years, he seemed to be living a normal life. The Zombie Hunter. It's Brian Miller's online persona and remodeled police cruiser. A make-believe world, but Miller's real criminal past began at a young age. Miller served time for a stabbing before he turned 18, and police believe he may have been involved in an arson as a child. Then, a few years after Angela Brasso and Melanie Bernas's bodies were found in Phoenix, Miller moved to Everett, Washington, near Seattle. He worked making aluminum awnings for a company called Canopy West.
As soon as you told me, it kind of, something in me just kind of said, you know, it makes sense.
We reached a former coworker of Miller's by phone today. Jason Brosius worked with Miller at the shop for several years until one day when he came to work.
There's blood here, blood there, blood there, blood there. There's crime tape everywhere. What the hell is going on?
Miller had been arrested for first-degree assault after stabbing a woman 4 times in the back. He claimed she had tried to rob him, and he was acquitted after a trial.
The day he got out of jail, he showed up here, grabbed a couple things, said, hey, you know, see you guys later. It's nice working with you. I'm going to Arizona. That was the last to hear of him.
Brosius said he testified in Miller's trial in Washington and never really made up his mind about what happened that night. After he moved to Arizona, Miller had a job working at Amazon in Phoenix. That's where he was arrested last night. I'm investigator Lauren Gilger, ABC 15 News.